Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Gabin from Design Tribe, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how I designed this flyer in Photoshop. I'm going to be showing you every single step I made in creating this amazing flyer in Photoshop. Let's get straight to it. The first thing we want to do is to create our new project, and for this project I want it to be 2000 pixels by 2000, so I'm just going to put in 2000 pixels by 2000 for the height and width, and I'm going to click on OK. The second thing I'm going to do is to bring in the colors that I will want to use for this design. So I already created my color scheme, which I'm going to be using for this design. So I'm just going to position this here. And now I will first of all create my background. So to create the background, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to use a solid color adjustment layer. And once I apply that solid color adjustment layer, I'm going to pick this color, for this is the color that I want to use as part of the background. Like you can see here on the edges, we have that color at the edges. So after putting that color, the next thing I'm going to do is to create another layer, and for this layer I'm going to use my brush to bring in these yellow colors that you see. So I'm just going to go here, select my brush, and I make sure I pick this color as my foreground color. And now I'm going to increase the size of my brush to something like this. If you can't see the tip of your brush, you can just turn off your caps lock button, and let me increase it to something like this. Or you can also use your bracket open or bracket close button to increase or decrease the size of your brush. So I'm just going to increase it to something like this, and I'm going to dab in here like that, be just once or twice. You see, we already have that kind of feel in the background. So I'm just going to add another layer to the design, which is going to be this radial pattern in the background. So I'll go back to my resources and I'll drag this and drop into my project. Let me select the project. So I'll just drag this and drop here in my project. And once it is dropped in the project, I don't want it to be everywhere in the project. Like you can see here, I just made it to be part of the top and not everywhere in the design. So how am I going to achieve that? I'm going to create a layer mask for that layer, and I'm going to use my brush tool, make sure my foreground color is turned to black, because with the mask, when you paint with the black color, it hides that area you're painting on, and when you paint with the white color, it reveals that area. So I'm just going to paint on this bottom part like this, and once that is done, I'm going to play with this layer again. It's looking too strong, so I'm going to drop the opacity of that layer. So I'll just go down to opacity and I'll drop it down to say 41% or slightly lower to 32%. So once that is done, the next thing I did was to create this podium that you see in the background, and that is actually very simple to create. So I'm going to create that by using my ellipse tool and making sure my foreground color is white, turn off the stroke, then on the fill, make sure the fill color is white, and I'm just going to create a circular shape like this. And once that circular shape is created, I'm going to go to my blending options and I'll activate my drop shadow. And under the drop shadow, I'm going to use this color. Let me turn on this color. I'm going to use this reddish color here for the drop shadow. So I will turn on my drop shadow, and I'm just going to pick that color there, and I'll change the blend mode of the drop shadow to normal, and I'm just going to increase my opacity, make it really strong, and increase the distance to something like that, reduce the spread, and bring down the size to something like this. And I think that is okay. And once that is done and I'm satisfied with it, I'm going to create the bottom part, which has this blue color. So to create that, it's also very simple. I'm just going to create a new layer, and I'm going to use my rectangular tool for this, and I'll click like this from both ends, and I'll pull it down to something like this. Once that is created, I'll press Ctrl T to transform, and I'll just align it so it snaps on the edges perfectly. And I'll bring this layer to the back so my shadow can be visible. And for this layer, I'm going to apply a gradient to that layer. Oops, sorry. I'm going to apply a gradient to this layer. So I'll just double click, and I'll go to gradient overlay, and you can see this is the gradient I'm going to be using. I've already built this. I won't want to waste time on creating that. I have a video on how to use the gradient tool, which you can watch to learn more about gradients. So just not to make this video long, I'm just going to apply the gradient directly, and we will proceed from there. So once the gradient is applied, I'm just going to click on OK. You now see we have the gradients, and the podium is already created. So what I'm going to do right now is just to select the two layers, and I'll convert them to a smart object. Just position it here. I'll press Ctrl J to create a copy, and I'll move it to the right hand side and bring the copy behind like that. Ctrl C for transform, and I'll reduce the size a little since they don't have to all be of the same size, and just position it somewhere here like that, and Ctrl J to copy that same layer, and I'll bring it this way like this, and our podium is created. So I will just select the three layers. Just select these three layers, sorry. Select all of that, and then I'll still convert it to a smart object like that. So once it's converted, I'll press Ctrl T, and I'll reduce the size to something like this, and I'll position it here like this. Okay, that is done. Now the next thing is to create this title. It's a pretty simple title to create, so I'm just going to create that. I'll just put down my color scheme here. First thing we want to type in is talent show. So I'm going to select my font, select this blue color, and I'll type in talent show, all in capital letters. Talent show, like that. Select everything, and space, increase the line spacing to something like this, and I'll put everything in the center. And the font I'm using is Monument Extended, and I'm going to use the ultra bold version of the font. So once that is done, I'm just going to increase the size like this to this position, and I think we are good to go. Then the next thing I did was to create the outline around the font. Now you might think it's a stroke that I did, but if you look here, you see that I did not create a stroke for this particular font. So let me show you exactly what I did to achieve this effect. So to achieve this effect, what I did was I created a new layer below that layer. I created a new layer like this, and I made a selection of the text like that, and I went to select modify, expand, and I expanded it by, I think 60 pixels is a little too much. Oh, just undo. Just want to expand it a little. Say expand by say 20 pixels. 20 pixels. Or let me increase it a little more. Modify, expand. I think 20. Let me add 10 more pixels. Yeah, something like that. And once that was done, what I did was just to fill that layer with white like that. So that's how I created the outline. So I will just undo and make sure that it fits perfectly. And then I'm going to go now to this layer where we have our text layer. I'm going to apply the same gradient that I applied here. So I'll just go to gradient overlay, and I'm going to apply that gradient so it has kind of shine in the middle. And now I'm going to link these two layers together, and I'll press Ctrl Command T on my keyboard, and I'll rotate it slightly like that. And I'm just going to position it somewhere here, just like that. And the next thing I did, oops, sorry, I noticed here that I actually italicized the text. So oops, let me just go back and italize that text character. Let me italize it before we proceed. So when I italize it, I'm just going to unlink and delete this layer. So create a new layer beneath, and I'll hold Control and I'll click on the thumbnail of the text. And I think we used select, modify, expand. So I think we used 40 pixels. So I'm just going to put 40 pixels there, and I'm going to fill that layer with white like that. Okay, and I think we are good to go. I'll link both layers together like that, and I'll just position it somewhere here. And now the next thing I did was to create this these spikes at the top. So to create that, it's pretty simple. I'm just going to go to a new layer, and I'll use my pen tool, and for that I'm going to use create a shape, and my fill color is going to be this blue. So I'm just going to click here, here, and here, and you see it's created that for me already. I'll just position that here, and I'll create another variation of it. Before doing that, I'll create a new layer. I'll use this, click here, here, and here, just like that. In like you can see here, I mixed the colors white and black. So I'm just going to position this here, and going to use my pen tool again, use white color, and I'm going to click like that. I want this one to be slightly longer like that. Control T, and I'll flip this horizontally and rotate it like this. Control T, and just modify it a little, or undo. And I think, yeah, something like that. Position it here. Control J to create a copy of that. Control T, rotate it like this. And I'm going to position it here, just like that. Now I'm going to move these two layers down a little. We are going to modify, like adjust the size later, but now since we are still creating all the elements, I'm just going to do that individually. Then later we are going to create every other assign proportions to them. So now what we are going to create is this line here. How did I create that? I used my shape tool, and I use the blue. Just going to draw a line here like this. Control C, rotate it like that, bring it up. I reduce the size a little. Okay, so I actually did the same technique that I did here. So I'm just going to select this layer, maybe create another one layer beneath it, and I'm going to select this layer like that. Go to my modify, expand. You don't need to do this. Well, since I've started, let's just do it. You just go to expand and 40, and then you fill it with white like that. Okay, once that is done, oops. Yeah, once that is done, but I think I will want to do this in another way. I'll just press Ctrl J, and I'll change the color of the white layer I've created, the one beneath. Ctrl T, and I'll just expand it like this. Just increase the size on all the sides. So it can be tricky to do this once you've already rotated the image. So it's proper to do this before rotating. So I think, yeah, I like this better. So once that is done, I'm just going to select the two layers. Maybe I'll increase the size of this one a little. Okay, and I'm going to select both layers. Position this. I'll select both layers like this and convert them to a smart object. And I'm going to add a mask to it to fade out this part in the middle where this Christian text is found. So I'm just going to put this here. Now use my brush, my foreground color black, and I'll reduce the size of my brush to something like this, and I'll dab in the center. I think it's a little too strong. Let me reduce this a little. Now dab somewhere here like this. Okay, and now I'm going to type in Christian. Let me see the font I used. Okay, you select the same color, blue, and I'm just going to click here and I type in Christian. Just like that. Select everything. Now go to my fonts. Now select Montserrat. Then I think the bold version of the fonts. reduce my font size to about 30, and I'll position it somewhere here. Control T, rotate it to something like this, and I drop the size to something like this. Okay, and once that is positioned there, I'm now going to select it and change the color to this blue, like that. And now I'm going to type in the name of the organizer of the talent show. I think I have it somewhere here, so I'm just going to copy this, control copy, recreate a copy of this, bring it up. Oops. Control J to create a copy, bring it up. Control V to paste, select everything, can drop it to font size 12, and I think that works fine. And so you see that we've created this top part of the design. I may just reduce, for contrast, I'll bring this to regular. Oh, it's too thin. Let me go back to semi-bold. That's it. So we've created this top part of our design. So we are going to proceed now to bring in the other elements and make the design a little more interesting. So if you are enjoying this video, please do well to support me by liking, and if you're not yet a subscriber, do well to subscribe. Hit the like button, please. Okay, let's go to the next part of the design. So to proceed, I'm just going to select all these layers and keep them in a group so I don't get to be confused. So I will just select everything, I think, right to this layer, like that. Just group everything. Oh, we've left out one layer. Open this, drop it in that layer. Okay, everything is now within the layer. Control T, and I'll just dial it down a little, like that. You want to rotate it again, and we just position it here. And now I'm going to bring in the dancer. So I'll just go into my folder and I bring in the dancer to this position, drop the size, you bring him up a little, up here. Yeah, so as you can see, we will need to resize so it fills the canvas. So I'm just going to select everything, the two layers, like this group, the dancer layer, and I'll press Ctrl T, increase the size to something like this. Okay, Ctrl T, and bring down my dancer. I don't want him to be too big. Just like that. So now I'm going to create a floor here, push this the podium to the back. So and Ctrl T, bring the podium behind, like this. I think is best here. And now I'm going to create a new layer, like that, and I'll select my rectangular tool, and I'm just going to create a white shape like that. I'll press Ctrl T, rotate it, and I'll bring it down to something like this. Okay, I think this is fairly good. Okay, now that is good. position this. Let me just bring in all the elements that we are going to be needing. So once the elements are in and we adjust them, we can now easily visualize how the project will look like. I think this mic is good here. And okay, I think I don't need this anymore. I'll just delete that. Position the mic here. And now I'm going to bring in these other parts of the design. So I'll move this to the right. Oops. Let me undo the move. Maybe I'll just convert this to a smart object so things don't move independently. I'll bring this here, position this mic a little to the top like that. And I'll add a motion blur to the mic so it shows that it's actually moving, just to give it some motion. Okay, and now I'm going to create this space for all this other information that we see here. That's quite simple to do, so I'm just going to use my rectangular tool, create that, Ctrl T, rotate, position it somewhere here. Make sure it's behind the microphone layer. Ctrl T, reduce the size a little. Okay. Feel like I need to reduce this. Okay. Just reposition. Okay. So there's actually no specific rule. You just arrange the elements in a way that they work together. They look good together. So once I've positioned that, the next thing was to come up with this the topic and all of that. So we are going to do this color grading. After adding all of this, I always like to just add all my text elements and everything before I start adding colors. So let me just come here, topics, morality. So I'll just draw this like this. And once that is drawn, I'll take this blue color and Ctrl T. I'll select skew and I'll click here and move this to the side like that. Ctrl T, rotate it to this. And make sure that the angle of rotation is same as this layer below, like that. Ctrl T. I think this is a little too big. Reduce it to that. Then I'll press Ctrl J to create a copy of this layer, and I will make the bottom one white like that. And I'll press Ctrl Command T to select that layer, and I'll just move it like this. Simple as that. And I'll type topics here. I think I used lowercase topics. Topics with S. And I'll just bring it here, bring it both like that, Ctrl C. Okay, that's it. Next thing, morality and abuse. So you see that this has to be close. Just position this. I think it's better like this. Okay, and I will bring this closer because in the real flyer this part was close to his hand. Why is okay? I've selected the wrong layer. Okay, let me bring this together. Control T, and I'll bring this here so it's like it's overlapping with his hand. It to the top like that. Okay, let's see, just overlap with his hand like that. And now the next thing is just bring in morality and abuse. So I'm going to bring in this check mark, like this checkbox. Reduce the size to this, and I'll position it here. Control Command T. Now reduce the size like that. And now I'm going to change the color or rasterize it like that. Just rasterize the layer. And I'll use my paint bucket. Make sure my foreground color is the blue color which I intend to use on that. And I'll just click on it like that. Simple as that. Control J to create a copy. And I bring it down and I'll just select the topics, morality, copy that. Control J. Control J, and I bring this down here. Double click, change the color to blue like that, and V. So that's morality. Select everything. Drop the font size to about 14 or less. Let me say 12. Want to bring this here. Morality. Delete one of these. Okay, and I'll press Ctrl or Command J on my keyboard to create a copy. And I'm just going to copy the next, abuse. The reason I like doing copying and pasting is so that I don't make typographical errors. So before designing, it's always good to type out your text and check for errors. Okay, so even though there is a check spelling function within Photoshop, so for instance, if you're doubting the spelling of morality, you just double click on it, you come to edit, and you go to check spelling. Once it checks, you say check spell complete, and since there is no spelling error, it will not display any error. But if there was a spelling error there, it will display a word that can be used to replace the one that you wrongly typed. Okay, so that's it. Next thing, open to all categories. Let's finish with this side, then we come to this side. So we have open to all categories. So I'm just going to select this copy and I'm going to paste, create, Control V. And for this part, I actually used another font, Acumen variable. I selected the thin one. Control T. And I rotated it like this. Position it somewhere here. And I played with the colors. So if you look here, open to was in white and all talents was in blue, just to make it look a little more interesting. So I'll just flip the color here like that. And then the next thing, our mission. So for that, I'm going to copy this blue here, just bring it down somewhere here. You now see that we need to do some modification around here, so we have to reduce the size of this, maybe bring it to this side slightly like that. Yeah, so most of the times it doesn't just look good from the go. As you progress, you need to be modifying your elements to make sure that everything works together well. So I'm going to reduce this, the size of this, and create a copy of this. Ctrl J, bring it here, and I'll type mission. Select it and reduce the font size. I think it's about 10. Yeah, 10 is okay. And see, our mission is to transform youth. So I'll go to where I have the text. So I'll select this, copy, and it's my text tool just to create a selection around here. And I'll paste in the text. Change the fonts to regular, or let me say italic. And I'm going to space out the fonts a little like that. Line, increase the line spacing, and I think I use a smaller font size here, and the color was this blue color. What, let me make it slightly darker. Ctrl T, rotate. Yay, I think something like this works. Me use black for this, and I bring this here like that. Okay, so we might need to modify. Ctrl T, just move this here, this back a little to create a little more space. Okay, bring this close. Voila, so it looks better. And I think this is a little too big. This Ctrl T. I'm going to reduce the size a little like that. Okay, just so we have the overlapping effect. Then I'll select this. Let me bring this down a little. Yeah, I think it's better like this. So there's a little more space in between the elements. And I think I'll need to reduce the size of this a little. Just put it at 11 like that, and that's it. Okay, next thing, we want to create this other side. Okay, so what I did here was to create I use my rectangle tool, and I just made a selection like this. We make it longer like that, and I pressed Ctrl T, went to skew, and I just click in the middle here and skewed it like that. Okay, and Ctrl T, made sure I rotated it to be in the same angle with this one. Oops, let me see how. Okay, this is on him, so I have to bring this layer to the top right above. Okay, thing somewhere here, and Ctrl J to create a copy. And for the bottom layer, I made it blue like that, and bring it down something like this. And then I added this line, so I may reduce this a little, then bring this down here, then I'm going to draw a straight line, a line that's thin like that. For the line, I'll press Ctrl T to rotate, and I bring it here. Oh, it did not rotate. Oh, okay, yes. Ctrl T. Let me locate the line. Ctrl T. I bring it down somewhere here. Rotate like that. Okay, that's the line. So you can check. You see, I created the line here, and there was another line here. So I will need to stop this line here. So let me go to. I can add a mask to this and hard brush, turn on my hardness to something like that, and I cut it from here. Make sure my foreground color is black, so it cuts from here like that. Then I'll create a copy of that line, Ctrl T, and I'll just bring it down here like this. Then I'll need to move this down slightly. Okay, make sure everything is good. And for this, oh, okay, perfect. Next thing is to bring in this other information. So I'll just come here. I'll select this, copy. Okay, select that. So if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button so the algorithm can help propose the video to many others. And that's also to make me know that you are interested in what I am creating. So I'm just going to paste or select this, Ctrl V, Ctrl A to select all, and then bring down the font size. I think font size 12 or 10 is good. I think I used 11 here, so this is going to be okay. position it, reduce the size. Then I'm going to make it bold. We go to bold. Yeah. Let's see. Rotate this slightly. Okay. Now I'm going to bring in the WhatsApp icon. Reduce the size to something like that. Position it somewhere here. And I'm going to copy the contacts. Copy. Control J. Now position it here. Control V to paste. Select all. And I think I'll make this medium. Yeah, so they don't all have the same emphasis, and I'll close up the character spacing like that. Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to add the email. Copy. Then I'll create a copy of that. Bring it down here. Control V to paste. Oh, I didn't copy properly. Lost an L. Okay. That's it. Then I'm going to add another line below here for the registration deadline. So I may want to reduce this to create a little more space down here. And I also have to drop this a little. Maybe I bring it somewhere here like that. Okay. So now I'm going to, let me see how this looks. It's right from here. So it shows that this was supposed to be up a little. So it's kind of tricky. You might not have the same thing all the time. So I may just need to modify this a little more, and let me just create a line with white like that. So the goal here is not to create the exact thing, but just to show you exactly how this was done. I created this earlier this month, so it's really been, I think last month. Yeah, last month. I created this last month, so I can't really have all the details in my mind, like everything I did. That's why I have to refer to the projects before I continue. So the goal is to show you how it was realized, what's happening. Okay, Ctrl T, rotate this. We can even just, yeah, put it like this. Like that. Okay, and I add maybe the blue continues. Okay, and position this above. Then for this layer that I've placed above, I give it a blue color like that. Then I add a mask to it, and I'm going to cut it somewhere here. So I'm going to use my pen tool, make sure path is selected. I'll just click somewhere here like that to break that. So I want it to have the same slope like the others above. Once that selection is done, I'll just make selection like that, and I'll fill it with black to take out that part like that. So you see how it looks. And now I'm going to push it back a little. and I'll bring in our registration deadline. So go to registration deadline, copy. I think I'll create a copy of this one. It's exactly the same font. Control V, select everything. Sorry, deselect. Let me select the text again, and I'm going to give it this red color here and position it here like that. Okay, registration deadline, and you copy the date, June 23rd. Control J, step it down, Control V, and for that I'm going to use the blue color. Maybe I step this up a little. Okay. Perfect. Now my mic has to be on this. So maybe I will bring this in front a little. Just move the layers to create space for the microphone. I think somewhere here is good. Take my microphone right up to the top like that. And Control T, increase the size of the microphone to something like this and rotate like that. Perfect. Okay, so that is it. So now we are going to be doing the color grading, adding shadows to make everything work together like they are all in the same space. So first thing I want to do is to add a shadow to our dancer here. So I'm going to create a new layer and position it behind him, and I'll use my brush tool like that. Just dab like that. Before dabbing, make sure your hardness, brush hardness is set to 0, so it's soft. Control T and just make this like this. Position it somewhere here. And I'm going to drop the opacity to something like that. Control J to create another one. Position it somewhere here. A. I'm going to add another layer. Use my brush and modify the brush to something like this. And I'll reduce my flow to about, say, 18. And I'll just dab around to add some little more shadow like that. Don't want to do too much. Okay, once that is done, next thing I'm going to do is to make this floor where he is dancing on look like it's actually part of the background. Like if you see here, you see the coloring here made it look like it's interacting with the background. So to do that, I'm going to select the layer, add another layer above, and I'm going to pick this yellow color like that. Increase the size of my brush to something like that, and I just dab around. You see, as I dab, It's kind of adding that effect to that layer. I want it just on this layer. I don't want it everywhere. So I'm going to clip it to that layer, holding Alt or Option on my keyboard and click in between the two layers like that. So it affects just this layer and not this. And I remember I added a music staff note somewhere here. So I'll just go to Window Shapes. I think this is it. So just drag, drop here. Reduce the size to something like this. And I remember it was white in color. So I'll just double click on it and select the white color from here. I think something like that. And then give it some blur. Oops. Go to filter, blur, motion blur. Convert to smart object. Yeah. Need some more. Yeah, I think that is okay. And now position it somewhere around here. Just like that. Okay, now I'm going to add color also to this microphone so it interacts better with the background. So I'm going to add a layer above it, and I'll use the same orange color that I used here. Let me just pick an orange color from background, and I'm going to paint just like that. Oops, so let me go to flow, just dab like that. And once that is done, I will hold my art to clip it on that layer, and I'll come to my blend mode and I'll use color and turn down my opacity a little, something like this. So you see how it's already looking good. And to take this a step further, I'm going to go to blend if, and I'll split this like this. Just move this to control it a little more, and I'll split this also, holding Alt or Option, move it down. So you see that the color now blends in better with the microphone, and it's like the microphone actually had that color at the beginning. So I want to add my opacity back, something like this. Okay. And also for the dancer, you want to paint in some colors. So create a new layer like that, make a selection like that, and use my brush. Reduce the size of my brush down like this. Make sure my hardness is turned down to 0. And here my blending mode will be linear dodge art, and I'm just going to just paint gently on some of the areas. So I'll select this again. Okay, just add a mask there, so whatever you paint is within this area, and you drop your flow down to about 15, and you just add some highlights like that. Not everywhere though. This is just to make him blend better with the background. Just a little. So I remember I painted this already. You just want to add a little more. Just a little, even on the skin too. But since this color here is white, this color here is not practical. So I may want to switch to white, then just add something around here gently. So you might want to reduce your flow down a little more and just do this. So if I had the time, I would probably do this better. But since this is a tutorial and I don't want this to be too long, I just want to show you the principles so you can take your time and practice it better. So to me, that is it. So all I need to do now is just to refine the design, make it look better. So I'll select everything together, create a group, copy, hide this, and I'll convert this to a smart object. And I'll go to camera raw where I always do my color grading and correcting correct every color that I don't want within my design. So the first thing I want to do now is to warm up the design a little. So here you don't want to do too much like this or like this. No, just slight changes. And for the contrast, I want to increase my contrast to this level. Highlights, I'll bring down my highlights a little. And whites, I'll turn up the whites. Blacks, I'll leave it at it as it is. And textures, a little more textures. Dehaze, I'll dehaze it a little. And now I'll go to my sharpness. Then on my sharpness to say about 71%. And I go to my color balance and luminance. I'll brighten the oranges a little more, brighten the yellows like that. You don't want to do too much. Saturation, can saturate the oranges a little. And I think we are good to go. And I click OK. You can zoom out like that. And that's the final result. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do well to support me by liking, sharing, and if you are not yet subscribed to this channel, do well to subscribe to this channel, for I do these videos every single week. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye bye.